Shalom, Zion. Shalom, shalom. Buka tube to you, worldwide, wherever you may be on this yom, on this morning. Buka tube to you, to the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, whatever foreign soil that you have been scattered to. We are scattered abroad to the four corners of the earth. So wherever my scattered family is on this morning, Buka tube to you. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to the older brother, YAHUAH'S. Shalom to the younger brother, Ephraim. Shalom to the stranger who is sojourning with us. Shalom, shalom to the whole Bayit, the whole house of Yasharal on this morning. Shalom, shalom to you. Shalom. Zion, I have a question. I have a question on this morning. And the question is there sin in the camp? Is there sin in the camp? Is there sin in the camp? This is the question. This is the question. This is the question that has faced the house of Yasharal for thousands of years. Is there sin in the camp? Is there sin in the camp? I don't have to tell you that sin separates us from the Most High Yah. He can have nothing to do with that which is unclean. Thus he teaches us via his righteous Torah to make a distinction between the clean and the unclean, because he cannot dwell where there is uncleanness. He cannot put his hands, he cannot become involved with anything that is unclean. He cannot, because there is no uncleanness in him. There is no uncleanness in him. He is so righteous, he is so tzedek, that when our ancestors were camped about in the wilderness for war, he sent word by his servant Musha that while they were in camp, that if they had to relieve themselves by defecating, that they were to dig a hole and then do their business in the hole and then cover the hole up, lest he come into the camp and see their uncleanness and turn away from them. And turn away from them. He cannot dwell where there is uncleanness. Sin, uncleanness. Sin and uncleanness are synonymous. And he cannot dwell, hear me, where there is uncleanness, where there is any type of uncleanness. Thus we are to make a distinction between the clean and the unclean. So the question remains, Zion, is there sin in the camp? Is there uncleanness in the camp? Is there uncleanness in the camp? This is the prevailing question. This is the prevailing question. Picking up this thought, we'll begin reading in YAHUAH'S, commonly called Joshua, the 6th chapter, and I'm going to read verses 15 through 19. And we're going to address the question of whether or not there is sin in the camp. If there is sin in the camp. Beginning at verse 15, it reads, Then on the 7th day, they rose early at the dawning of the day and marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they marched around the city 7 times. At the 7th time, when the Kohen blew the trumpets, YAHUAH'S said to the people, Shout, for YAHUAH has given you the city. The city shall be under the ban. It and all that is in it belongs to YAHUAH. Only Rahab, commonly called Rahab, the harlot and the whore, and all who are with her in the house shall live. because she hid the messengers whom we sent. But as for you, hear me, only keep yourselves from the things under the ban. Under the ban. In other words, the things that are designated for destruction. The things that are designated to be utterly destroyed, removed, destroyed. But as for you, only keep yourselves from the things under the ban, so that you do not covet them, and take some of the things under the ban, and make the camp of Yasharal accursed, and bring trouble on it. But all the silver and gold, and articles of bronze and iron, and are Kodesh to Yahuwah. They shall go into the treasure of Yahuwah. So here, Jericho is, Yahuwah is getting ready to deliver Jericho into the hands of our ancestors. But as a precautionary note, as a precursor, Yahuwah gives instructions through Yahusha to the children of Yasharal, to our ancestors, to not take any of the accursed things that he has designated to be placed under the ban, to be, in other words, designated to be destroyed, to be removed, to be utterly destroyed. The things that I have put under the ban, the things that I have designated to be destroyed, be sure that you take none of those things. Be sure that you take none of those accursed things and bring them amongst the house of Yasharal, whereby bringing the accursed thing amongst Yasharal, whereby bringing a curse upon Yasharal, whereby bringing a curse upon Yasharal. Indeed, when we disobey Yah, when we disobey his set-apart word, his set-apart instructions, we bring curses upon ourselves. We bring curses upon ourselves. We bring sickness. We bring disease. We bring demonic oppression, because all of these things are a result and are synonymous with disobedience. As demons carry curses, demons carry sickness. They carry these things. And so when we open the door for them, via disobedience, via sin, via disobedience to Torah, we open the door to curses by which demons carry and by which they have a legal right to us, because we have disobeyed the voice of the Most High Yah. Because we have disobeyed the voice of the Most High Yah. Picking this same story up in Yahusha, the very next chapter of Joshua, beginning at the first verse of chapter 7, I'm going to read through verse 21. Beginning at verse 1, it reads, "But the sons of Yasharal acted unfaithfully in regards to the things under the ban." With regard to the things under the ban, the things that had been set apart for destruction. Destruction, because they were accursed. They were accursed. For Achan, the son of Chami, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, from the tribe of Yehudah, took some of the things under the ban. Therefore, hear me, the anger of Yahuwah burned against the sons of Yasharal. Now Yahusha sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bayeth Awan, on the east side of Bayeth El, commonly called Bethel, house of Alua, and spoke to them, saying, "Go up and spy out the land." And the men went up and spied out Ai. And they returned to Yahusha and said to him, "Let not all of the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and strike Ai. Do not make all of the people toil up there. for the people of Ai are few. And about 3,000 men went up there from the people. But they fled from before the men of Ai. And the men of Ai struck about 36 men, for they pursued them from before the gate as far as Shabarim, and smote them on the descent. So the hearts of the people melted and became like water. And Yahushua tore his garments, and fell to the earth on his face before the ark of Yahuwah until evening, both he and the elders of Yasharal. And they put dust on their heads. And Yahushua said, O Master Yahuwah, why have you brought this people over the Yarden at all, to give us into the hand of the Amorites, to destroy us? If only we had been content to stay beyond the Yarden. O Yahuwah, what do I say when Yasharal turns its back before its enemies, and the Canaanites, and all the inhabitants of the land hear, and shall surround us and cut off our name from the earth? What then do you do your great name? What then do you do for your great name? Verse 10. Hear me. So Yahuwah said to Yahushua, rise up, rise up. Why is it that you have fallen on your face? Yasharal has sinned. Yasharal has sinned. Didn't say Achan had sinned. It says here, Yasharal has sinned. Achan's sin was counted against the whole house of Yasharal. Against the whole house of Yasharal. We are Achan. We are one. We are one nation, comprised of 12 tribes and the sojourners amongst us. But we are one. We are Achan. When one sins, the whole house of Yasharal sins. And so Achan's sin was counted against the whole house, the whole bayith of Yasharal. Yasharal has sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them. What covenant? What covenant is he talking about here? What covenant? In Dabarim, Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, reading verses 25 through 26, it reads, the carved images of their mighty ones you are to burn with fire. Do not covet the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it for yourselves, lest you be snared by it. For it, hear me, is an abomination to Yahuwah, your Aluah. Do not bring an abomination into your house, lest you be accursed like it. Lest you be accursed like it, utterly loathed and utterly hated, for it is accursed. For it is accursed. These are part of the words of the covenant. These are part of the word of the covenant. I know the 10 Dabarim are the words of the covenant, but the 10 Dabarim are the foundation of the entire covenant. The 10 Dabarim, the 10 words, the 10 commandments are the foundation of the covenant. Is it not written that we are not to make any images of either what is in Shamayim or on Arets or below the Arets, that we are not to bow down to them, that we are not to worship them? Is that not in the 10 Dabarim? So this is part of the 10 Dabarim. Does Achan and Yasharal as a whole transgress the covenant? They transgress the covenant. Thus, they got their behinds whooped because Yahuwah was no longer standing with them. Yahuwah was no longer standing with them because there was sin in the camp. Because there was sin in the camp. Because they had taken the accursed thing. Because they had taken idols from Jericho. Because they had taken what had been dedicated to idols and brought it inside of the camp of Yasharal, whereby bringing the accursed thing into Yasharal, whereby bringing sin in the midst of Yasharal, whereby bringing sin in the camp, whereby causing Yahuwah not to stand with them. Not to stand with them. It reads on. And the sons of Yasharal shall not be able to stand before their enemies. And the sons of Yasharal shall not be able to stand before their enemies. Let's read verse 10 again. So Yahuwah said to Yahushua, rise up. Why is it that you have fallen on your face? Why are you falling on your face? Why are you bowing down to me? Why are you praying to me when there's sin in the camp? Don't you know that sin separates you from me? Don't you understand that this is why you got your butt whipped? Because I'm not standing with you anymore. Because the unclean thing, any kind of uncleanness separates you from me. That I can't dwell in the midst of uncleanness. Do you not understand this, Yahushua? Why are you bowing down to me? Rise up. Why is it that you have fallen on your face? Yasharal has sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant. And we just discussed the covenant, the 10 Dabarim. They transgressed the covenant by bringing the accursed thing into the midst, by bringing that which has been dedicated to idols, or bringing idols itself, bringing the abominable accursed thing into the camp, because these things are accursed. These things are abominable. And by bringing these things into the camp, the whole house is accursed. The whole house is abominable. Whatever you have brought into your house that is abominable, that is accursed, has caused you and your whole house to be accursed and abominable. Reading on, Yasharal has sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them. And they have taken some of the things under the ban, and have both stolen and deceived. Moreover, they have also put them among their own things, among the set apart things. They have put that which is unclean with the set apart. Thus, we are to make a distinction between the clean and the unclean. The set apart and the unclean cannot dwell. It cannot co-dwell. We cannot both drink from the cup of demons and from the cup of Yahuwah. We cannot drink from both cups. There has to be a distinction. There has to be a separation. Just as when you walk into a dark room and turn the light on and the darkness flees, darkness and light cannot coexist. Yahuwah will not dwell in the midst of uncleanness. He will not dwell in the midst of darkness. It reads on, and the sons of Yasharal shall not be able to stand before their enemies. They are going to turn their backs before their enemies, for they have become accursed. Hear me. For they in the house of Yasharal, the Yasharalites here, have become accursed. Why? Because you become accursed like the accursed thing that is with you. If you're eating anything accursed, if you have abominable meats, if you have what Yahuwah has designated as unclean in your fridge, and you are digesting this unclean thing, then just like that thing is unclean, just like that thing is abominable, you too become unclean and abominable like the thing that you were eating. And if there is something accursed or abominable that you have brought into your house, just like that thing is accursed, just like that thing is abominable, you too are accursed, and your whole house is accursed, and everybody in it. I am not with you anymore. Do you hear me? He says here, I am not with you anymore, because I cannot dwell in the midst of uncleanness. Unless you destroy that which is under the ban from your midst. Unless you destroy the unclean thing, the abominable thing, the accursed thing in your midst, I am not with you. I am not with you. Rise up, set the people apart. Set the people apart. Set them apart from sin, and set them apart to me. Set them apart from that which is unclean. Destroy the uncleanness in your midst, whereby setting yourself apart from the thing that is unclean, from the accursed thing that is in your midst, and set yourself apart to me. Rise up, set the people apart, and you shall say, Set yourselves apart for tomorrow, because thus said Yahuwah of Yasharal, that which is under the ban is in your midst. Sin is in your midst. Sin is in the camp. O Yasharal, you are not able to stand before your enemies until you put away that which is under the ban out of your midst. And you shall be brought near in the morning according to your tribes. And it shall be, the tribe which Yahuwah takes comes according to the clans, and the clan which Yahuwah takes come by households, and the households which Yahuwah takes comes by men. And it shall be that he who is taken with that which is under the ban is burned with fire. Oh, yes, yes, yes. You are going to be burned with fire, with an unquenchable fire, where the fire is not quenched and the worm does not die. If you don't get rid of the accursed thing out of your life, if you don't get rid of the accursed, abominable thing out of your life, you are going to be burned with fire. You are going to be burned with fire. Nevertheless, it reads, and it shall be that he who is taken that which is under the ban is burned with fire, he and all that he has, because he has transgressed the covenant of Yahuwah, and because he has committed wickedness and Yasharal. So Yahusha rose early in the morning, and he brought the clan of Yehudah, and he took the clan of the Zahites, and he brought the clan of the Zahites by men, and Zabdah was taken. And he brought the household by men, and Achan, son of Carmi, son of Zabdi, son of Zerah, of the tribe of Yehudah, was taken. Then Yahusha said to Achan, my son, I implore you, give esteem to Yahuwah, the Yahuwah of Yasharal, and give praise to him. And tell me now, what have you done? Do not hide it from me. So Achan answered Yahusha and said, truly I have sinned against Yahuwah, the Yahuwah of Yasharal, and this is what I did. When I saw among the spoil of the beautiful mantle from Shinar, do you hear me? From Shinar. This is the valley of Babal. This is the valley of Babal. This is the valley of Shinar. This is Babylonian. These are idols. These are accursed things that have been set apart for destruction. Do you not know that demons attach themselves to the accursed things? We just finished explaining that. They attach themselves to the accursed thing. They attach themselves to idols. They attach themselves to the abominable thing. They attach themselves to unclean things because they are unclean. Hence Yahusha gave the demons, whom called themselves legion, he gave them permission to enter the swine when they asked him to not cast them into the abyss, rather to let them go into the swine, to let them go into something unclean. And he gave them permission. He granted permission that they enter the unclean thing. They attached themselves to unclean things. They attached themselves to swine flesh. And so if you are still eating swine flesh, you are just as wicked, you are just as unclean, you are just as accursed and abominable as the unclean thing that you are eating. And you are inviting demons into your body because they are attached to the unclean thing. Hence you have gout, you have high blood pressure, you have sugar diabetes, you have heart disease, you have all kinds of sickness and disease that these demons carry because you are taking the abominable, accursed, unclean thing into your body. They attach themselves to that which is unclean. And thus, if we have the unclean thing in our midst, Yahuwah will not dwell in our midst. He cannot dwell in our midst where there is something unclean. Where there is something unclean. So it reads, do not hide it from me. So Achan answered Yahusha and said, truly I have sinned against Yahuwah, the Yahuwah of Yasharal. And this is what I did when I saw among the spoil of the beautiful mantle from Shinar, and 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold 50 shekels in weight. Then I coveted them, and took them, and behold, they are concealed in the earth inside my tent, with the silver underneath it. These were things that had been dedicated to idols, that had been dedicated to idols, that had been dedicated to the idols of Babylon, to the valley of Shinar. And he had brought these abominable, accursed things into the set apart house of Yasharal. Thus Yahuwah said, I will not stand with you. I cannot stand with you, because there is something unclean in your midst. There is sin in the camp. There is sin in the camp. Reading on, it says, and Yahushua sent messengers, and they ran to the tent, and see, it was hidden in his tent, with the silver under it. And they took them from the midst of the tent, brought them to Yahushua, to all the children of Yasharal, and laid them out before Yahuwah. Then Yahushua and all Yasharal with him took Achan, son of Zerah, and the silver, and the garment, and the wedge of gold, and his sons and his daughters, and his oxen, and his donkeys, and his sheep, and his tent, and all that he had. And they brought them to the valley of Ahor. And Yahushua said, why have you troubled us? Yahuwah does trouble you today. Then all Yasharal stoned him with stones, and they burned them with fire. And after they had stoned them with stones, and they raised over them a great heap of stones, which remains to this day. Then Yahuwah, hear me, then Yahuwah turned from the fierceness of his displeasure. Therefore the name of that place has been called the Valley of Ahor to this day. Zion, until we remove the accursed thing out of our midst. Until we remove the accursed thing out of our midst as a whole, Yahuwah will not stand with the whole house of Yasharal as a whole. Moreover, individually, until you remove that accursed thing out of your house, out of your midst, out of your life, Yahuwah will not stand with you. He will not stand with us until we individually remove that accursed thing out of our midst. And as a whole, he will not stand with the whole bayif of Yasharal until the accursed thing is removed from out of our midst, as it is written in Dabarim, the 30th chapter, when Yasharal as a whole remembers our sins, remembers the sins of our fathers, remembers our own sins, and turns and repents and is sorrowful for our sins, then he will gather us from the four corners of the earth. When we remove as a whole the accursed thing from out of our midst, when we remove the accursed things from out of our midst. In the meantime, individually, this is why you're being tore up. This is why you're sick. This is why you're weak. This is why your mind is tore up, because you need to get the accursed thing out of your life. You need to get the accursed thing out of your homes and out of your lives. You need to search the camp for sin, and you need to get the accursed thing out of your life. By the mouth of two or more witnesses, let every matter be established. And so in Yunah, or commonly called Jonah, the first chapter, we began reading at verse 1, and we'll read through verse 15. At verse 1, it reads, and the word of Yahuwah came to Jonah, son of Amittai, saying, arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and cry against it, for their evils have come up before me. But Jonah rose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of Yahuwah, and went down to Yaffo, and found a ship going to Tarshish. And he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah sent a great wind on the sea, and there was a great storm on the sea, so that the ship was thought to be broken up. And the seamen were afraid, and each one cried out to his mighty one, and threw the cargo which was in the ship into the sea, to lighten the load. But Jonah had gone down into the lowest parts of the ship, and he lay down and was fast asleep. And the captain came to him and said, What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, cry out to your YAHUAH. If so be that YAHUAH shall think about us, so that we do not perish. A point of note here is that that captain conducted an inventory of the ship. They started to throw things overboard that they thought may have been causing the storm. And they began to throw away extra weight overboard. And in conducting the inventory and searching out the camp, he found Jonah fast asleep in the bowels of the ship, and the bowels of the ship. And he says this, What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, cry out to your YAHUAH, if so be that YAHUAH shall think about us, so that we do not perish. And they said to each other, Come, let us cast lots, so that we know for whose sake this evil has come upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. So they said to him, Please explain to us, for whose sake is this evil upon us? What is your occupation, and where do you come from? What is your country, and from what people are you? And he said to them, I am Abri, I am Hebrew, and I am fearing YAHUAH, the YAHUAH of the Shamayim, who made the sea and the dry land. And the men were exceedingly afraid, and said to him, Why have you done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of YAHUAH. For he had informed them. And they said to him, What are we to do to you to make the sea calm for us? For the sea was growing more stormy. And he said to them, Take me and throw me into the sea, so that the sea becomes calm for you. For I know that the great storm is because of me. However, the men rowed hard to bring the ship to land, but were unable. For the sea continued to grow more stormy against them. And they cried out to YAHUAH and said, We pray, O YAHUAH, please let us not perish for this man's life, and do not lay on us innocent blood. For you, O YAHUAH, have done as it pleased you. Then they took Jonah and threw him into the sea, and hear me, and the sea stopped raging. And the sea stopped raging. Some of you have storms raging in your lives because you have not searched the camp for sin, because you have not searched the bowels of the ship, and you have not cast the accursed thing overboard. You see, by disobeying YAHUAH, Jonah became accursed. He became accursed. You see, whenever we disobey YAHUAH, we become accursed. We bring curses on ourselves. And thus, when they cast the accursed thing from out amongst them, the seas ceased, the storms ceased, the boat ceased from being tossed to and fro when they cast the accursed thing from out of their midst. You need to conduct an inventory of your life. You need to conduct an inventory of your home. You need to search out the sin in your life. You need to search out the accursed thing in your home, physical accursed things in your home. Take an inventory of the accursed things that you brought from Babylon, things that were placed under the ban, things that have no business being in your home. Search out these accursed things. Search out the sin that's in your life and cast these accursed things out of your life. Cast these accursed things out of your life. You're wondering where the sickness comes from. You're wondering where the disease comes from. You're wondering where the confusion of your mind comes from. You're wondering why these demonic attacks are coming upon you. Search out your life. Search out the camp. Search out your home and cast the accursed thing out of your life. Search out the camp and cast out the accursed thing. Burn the accursed thing and get rid of the accursed thing out of your home, out of your life. Take an inventory on this day. Take an introspective look of your nafash, at your nafash. Take an introspective look at yourself and compare it to the word of Yah. Take an inventory of your home. Search out these things. Search out the accursed thing and cast it out of your home. And cast it out of your home. There was a time when I was a sports fanatic. I was fanatical about sports. I was addicted to sports because that demon God that governs sports had me addicted to it. I was addicted to it. I couldn't do without it. It permeated my being. I thought about it all the time. It controlled my conversations. It dominated my conversations. I always talked about it. I always thought about it. I was dominated by it. All of my conversations was about sports. One day after coming out of Babylon, I was watching a basketball game of LeBron James, that devil, that demon. I was watching him, who is sold over to the wicked one, who is giving his life to the wicked one. Oh yes, he has. Research it. That devil has sold himself out. I was watching him, and my wife was in the other room. She was praying and she was calling out to the Most High Yah, and she had gotten a little loud, and I began to turn the television up. And immediately the Ruach HaKodesh made me turn it down. Made me turn it down and turn it off until she finished. Later on, about the ninth hour of the morning, around 3 a.m., he awoke me and told me to research the God of sports. I researched the God of sports at that moment, and I found out that sports is governed by demons. Sports is governed by demon gods that they still sacrifice to. The Greeks began this. The Greeks began sacrificing to these gods, and they still sacrifice to these mighty ones unto this day. They sacrifice to Hermes. They sacrifice to Hercules. They sacrifice to Nike. They sacrifice to Victoria. They sacrifice to these demon gods. And you are under a deep incantation, and you are under a deep spell. If you are still watching the sports, if you are still addicted to them, you are under a spell. You are drawn by these demon gods. And if you have sports memorabilia in your home, you need to get rid of that accursed thing. You need to throw those accursed things out of your house, because it is bringing curses on your house. Oh yeah, there may not be any storms going on right now. There may not be any storms going on in your life, but guess what? Guess what? Shaitan, it makes no sense for Shaitan to come against Shaitan. A kingdom divided cannot stand. Why would Shaitan come against Shaitan? And so if you are already worshiping him, why would he come against you? Why would he need to come against you? Oh yeah, it may appear that your seas are calm, but you are worshiping the mighty one of sports. You are worshiping Hashatan, not knowing that you are worshiping the messenger that is presenting himself as a messenger of light. Get rid of the accursed things out of your home. Get rid of them. And if your seas are stormy, this may be one reason why your seas are stormy, because you have the accursed things in your life. I immediately began to get rid of all the sports memorabilia that was in my home. And getting rid of the sports memorabilia in my home, he revealed to me that my favorite NFL team at that time, the New Orleans Saints, their very symbol was the symbol of the Queen of Heaven, the fleur de lis, the flower of the lily. It is her symbol. It is a horn of power. And so I immediately got rid of all of that sports memorabilia. Later on, as I began to study, and as he began to speak to me, one night again, he woke me up at 9 a.m. and had me to focus on a lamp that was in my bedroom. And as I focused intently on that lamp, for the first time, I realized that that lamp was shaped in the shape of the fleur de lis, of the flower of the lily. And these were very expensive lamps. But the next morning, I immediately got up and threw these lamps away. I destroyed these lamps because I did not want the accursed thing in my life. I did not want the accursed thing in my life. And unless you get rid of the accursed thing in your life, those storms are going to continue. That sickness, that disease, those demonic attacks, and all sorts of all sorts of curses are going to remain in your life because he cannot stand with you. He cannot stand with you. And until the whole YAHUAH'S of YAHUAH gets rid of the accursed thing, in accordance with Dabarim, the 30th chapter, and repents of the sins of our fathers, and repents and turns from our own sins, not until then will he turn and gather us. Not until then will he turn and gather us. Set yourselves apart this day. Get rid of the accursed thing. Get rid of the accursed thing. Indeed, there is sin in the overall camp of YAHUAH, and we must remove the sin from our midst. Expose the wolves, Zion. Expose the seed of Achan. Expose the false teachers. Expose the idolaters, the sodomites, the adulterers, the whoremongers, the greedy of gain, all the unclean. Get rid of them, expose them, and get them out of the camp. Because until we get them out of our camp, YAHUAH will not dwell with us as a whole. He will not dwell with us. Expose them and get them out of our camp. Get them out of our camp. Expose the darkness in your life. What things have you brought from Babylon? What possessions? What accursed things? What habits have you brought from Babylon? What things are you still holding on to that should be destroyed? What things are you holding on to that should be destroyed, that are cursed, that are meant for destruction, that have been set apart for destruction, that have been set apart, that have been put under the ban? What things do you still have in your life that need to be destroyed, that are put under the ban, that have been accursed, by the Most High Yah, that are unclean? And because they are unclean, you are unclean. And because uncleanness bears curses, you are cursed. Thus you're sick, you're diseased, your mind is confused, your life is chaos. You're being attacked by demons because you have the accursed thing in your life, and you haven't searched out your camp for sin, and you haven't cast out the accursed thing. Get rid of the accursed thing, because he cannot dwell in the midst of uncleanness. Get rid of it now, Zion. Get rid of it now, or it's going to be it's going to be done away with later. Either we expose them now, or they are going to be exposed in the wilderness. Either we expose the uncleanness in our life now, or it is going to be exposed in the wilderness. You had rather that it be exposed now than then. Because if it is exposed then, you're going to perish in the wilderness like our ancestors and not enter the promised land. Oh yes, there is nothing new under the sun. Everything is going to repeat. We're going to be delivered from bondage. We're going to be delivered from Mizraim after plagues have been pronounced against Mizraim. There's going to be a second Passover. We're going to be brought back into the wilderness again. We're going to be brought back into the wilderness again, where he is going to deal with us and where he is going to separate us. He is going to separate us from the rebels. He is going to separate us from the unclean, from those who still refuse to remove the accursed things from their lives. There is going to be a separation, as it is written in YAHUAH'S or Ezekiel, the 20th chapter, beginning at verse 34 through verse 38. And I shall bring you out from the peoples and gather you out of the lands where you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm, and with wrath poured out, wrath, judgments, plagues, and I shall bring you into the wilderness of the peoples, and you and shall enter into judgment with you face to face there. Do you hear me? And shall enter into judgment with you face to face there, as I entered into judgment with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Mizraim, so I shall enter into judgment with you, declares the Master Yahuwah. Hear me, and I shall make you pass under the rod, and shall bring you into the bond of the covenant, and purge and purge and purge the rebels from among you, and those who transgress against me, those who disobey Torah, who refuse to remove the accursed thing from their midst, and those who transgress against me. From the land where they sojourn, I bring them out. But they shall not come into the land of Yasharal. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah. This is the word of Yahuwah. Either remove the accursed thing now, either from your lives or from your home, either exposed those who are bringing the accursed thing into Yasharal now, those wolves who are posing as sheep, that seed of Cain who has nothing to do with the house of Yaakov. Expose them now, expose that accursed thing now, or be dealt with in the wilderness and be purged there. And be purged there. Because as it is written, nothing unclean shall enter therein. Nothing unclean shall enter therein. Conduct an inventory of your life and of your home on this Yom. Conduct an introspective look at yourself, at that inner man on this Yom. On this Yom. Expose the idolaters, the adulterers, the sodomites, the greedy of gain, the wolves in sheep clothing. Expose them. Expose them. Expose the whoremongers within Yasharal. Expose them. Because until the whole house of Yasharal is purged from this thing, he will not stand with us as a whole. As a whole. Conduct an inventory on this Yom. Conduct an inventory on this Yom. Search out the camp for sin and rid yourself of the accursed thing. Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahuwah lift up his face towards you and give you shalom. Thus you shall put my name on the banim, on the children of Yasharal, and I myself shall barak them. Amen, amen, amen.